Hi, everybody. Dan Illman taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Saturday, November the 30th. It is race number 8 at Del Mar. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 1 $300,000 Hollywood Derby. 3-year-olds going 9 furlongs on the Del Mar turf. You can download free Formulator Pass performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Access them, handicap along with me. I'm going to take this field in post position order, beginning with the number 1, Mo Forza. And you look at Mo Forza's past performances, and they remind me, at least, of a poor man's Omaha Beach. This is a well-bred colt who began his career with some fanfare. He got bet in a lot of his early races, and he just couldn't win. And then it just appeared that the light bulb went on 2 starts back in a 1-mile turf race at Santa Anita. He won that race with a solid 86 Beyer speed figure. It led to his start last time out in the Grade 2 Twilight Derby. Mo Forza is a little bit of a difficult horse to ride. He broke from the far outside post, and he pulled Joel Rosario right up to the early leader, that being Kingley, who's right next door in the Hollywood Derby. Mo Forza, well, it took him about 3/8 of a mile or so for him to finally settle down. Once he did, he relaxed very well off Kingley. He put Kingley to bed turning into the stretch, and the closers really just couldn't get to him. It was a big effort visually. It was a big effort from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, a 96. He's back in here against Kingley, who should be able to get to the front. And if Mo Forza can relax for his new jockey, Paco Lopez, if he can settle in behind horses, I think he can work out a pace-tracking, ground-saving trip, and maybe there's a little more to come for this colt. Peter Miller seems to have found the answer, as he's won his last 2 starts after missing in his first 5. Kingley is the number 2. Kingley has big speed. We saw that at Del Mar over the summer when he went gate to wire in the La Jolla handicap going 1 mile and a 16th. Now, he was life and death to hold off Neptune Storm's late charge that day, and he just hasn't been able to stay in his 3 subsequent outings. The Del Mar Derby, he made an easy early lead. He was run down. The City of Hope Mile, in against older horses, him cutting back to 1 mile is good. That race, again, just had one of those big bunched up finishes. Hard to trust him. I like Prince Earl earlier in the day in the Seabiscuit. Not sure if Kingley ran as great as that 100 Beyer speed figure makes it look. In the Twilight Derby last time out, again, he went to the front. Mo Forza just put him away. I'm very concerned about Kingley's ability at this 1 1/8 distance. It is up to Mario Gutierrez to get to the lead and try to drop the anchor and save something for the stretch, because he's been getting tired going 9 in the past. Uncle Bull is the number 3. Uncle Bull is another lightly raced son of Uncle Mo that has a lot of upside potential. He's coming off a big win. His win at Woodbine last time out was over a synthetic track, and he was just able to control the pace. He got loose as loose can be. They never got close to him. He really ran in the stretch for Mark Casse. I respect what he did in that effort, and he has a win on the turf in the past, but that was a big step forward on a synthetic surface when able to get a candy trip on the lead. With Kingley breaking directly to his inside, Uncle Bull's probably going to have to rate a little bit. He's done it successfully going shorter. We'll see what kind of trip is available to him on Saturday. Digital Age is a horse I've been chasing for a while for trainer Chad Brown, and maybe you could just make excuses, or maybe I'm simply making too many excuses for him. He was 5-1 in the Belmont Derby going 1.25 miles, and yeah, he was in behind horses turning into the stretch, but he did get the split, and he just really didn't fire with as much verve and tenacity as I was hoping for. They ran him in the Saratoga Derby. He got wired that day by a thread of blue. I thought he ran well, get brushed a little bit in the upper stretch, only beaten a length. The Jockey Club Derby, he ran 1.5 miles, which I think is a little far for him. That's 1. 2, he was just 3-4 wide throughout. And there wasn't a ton of pace in that race. The trip didn't work out. The distance didn't work out. I was looking forward to him turning back, dropping in class in the Hill Prince last time out, and he didn't get any pace again. He didn't really fire in the stretch, but that pace, that lack of pace, worked against Digital Age. How many times in the past have we seen these East Coast-based horses, especially those trained by Chad Brown? They ship out to the left coast. They make hay. Digital Age at 6-1 in the morning line. He has the ability to win a race like this. I'm getting tired of the excuses. We'll see what we get from Digital Age on Saturday. Neptune Storm's a real hard hitter. He's based in Southern California, but he's run very, very well when shipped all over the place, including that race in the Hill Prince. Now, in the Hill Prince, when he won 2 starts back, He sat right off a thread of blue. There was no pace, and he was just better that day. It was a great trip for him. In the Twilight Derby, he was the beaten favorite behind Mo Forza, and I have to admit, I really didn't see much of an excuse. I just think Mo Forza was the better horse on the day. Neptune Storm's best asset is his tactical speed. Kingley's going to go to the front. In all likelihood, we'll see the number 3 horse, Uncle Bull, close. Mo Forza probably going to be close to the pace. Neptune Storm can work out a second flight trip in the clear, and 1.125 miles is no problem for him at all. He's dangerous. Would I play him as the favorite? He's 9-2, tepid morning line favorite. I'm not sure I want to play him at a short price. I think Knoll Day is a lot more interesting, perhaps at a bigger price. He did not run at all in the Twilight Derby. As a matter of fact, the race was just too bad to be true. He was very unsettled. He never really got settled down behind horses. He just didn't run. You look at his prior races on the turf, they're all good. He's a nose away from being 4 for 4 during that span. The Del Mar Derby was a big effort. He gets pace, and he gets a clean trip, and he relaxes. He's going to run a lot better than he did in the Twilight Derby. I'm just going to look at that race as an anomaly. Maybe he needed it. It was his first race in 2 months for John Sheriffs. I think Knoll Day's a lot better than that race shows, and he might drift a little bit off of his morning line odds. Proud Pedro just missed by a nose in the Let It Ride Stakes last time out. It was a really good prep for this because it was his first race since late June. He basically missed the entire summer season of racing. He came back in the Let It Ride. It was a short field, not a ton of pace, and he was running at the end of that race to only be beaten a nose. He was a little bit green when he won his maiden at Santa Anita at the 1 1/8 distance. He came back and Knoll Day handled him 2 starts back. He's still learning. He's a big price. He's got some upside. Maybe Proud Pedro's the kind of horse you can use underneath at a giant price. Henley's Joy is so consistent. He's a deserving millionaire because he has been good ever since the first time he walked onto a racetrack last year for Michael Maker. Just consider, he was a multiple stakes winner at 2. He won the Belmont Derby over the summer when he got just a beautiful trip and ride from Jose Loscano. Now, he hasn't won in 4 subsequent starts. The Twilight Derby, he ran okay. The Hill Prince, he had no pace to run at. I thought he got a decent enough trip under Dylan Davis, but I think that the lack of pace hurt him. The Jockey Club Derby, I think 1.5 miles is a little bit too far. So you got excuses for his last couple of races. The Twilight Derby, maybe that outside post getting in behind horses didn't work out. I think Henley's Joy fits at this level. I like him at 1.125 miles, even though his record indicates he has not done especially well at this particular distance. And he's versatile as well. Henley's Joy is 6-1 on the morning line. I'm not sure if there's a lot of upside that some of these others have because he's already started 15 times, but he's hickory. The 9 is standard deviation of the East Coast-based horses. He's the one I'm looking at for Chad Brown because I think he's one of those late developing 3-year-olds who's finally maturing and finding himself at the right time. He's the son of Curlin. He sold for a lot of money as a yearling. He won his first start as a 2-year-old. They got a little bit of Derby fever. They ran him in the Breeders' Futurity. They ran him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. They started him a couple of times earlier this year on dirt. He is a turf horse. In the Hill Prince last time out, again, we talked about the pace scenario of that race. He was able to stay up close. He was running on at the end. He just couldn't overcome the lack of pace. The Jersey Derby, he just pounded weak horses. He destroyed that field. He made a 4-wide move on the turn, 5 paths turning into the lane, and he just swept right by him. The Belmont Derby was one of those situations where it was a case of too much, too soon. And all things considering, I really don't think he ran very badly, passing a few tired horses in the stretch. I think he's coming into his own for Chad Brown. He's 6-1 in the morning line. I want to use standard deviation. Where did Moody Jim's last race come from? It was a 95 Beyer speed figure performance. Now, he was favored, dropping into a non-winners of one other than after a decent performance in the Del Mar Derby. But that was by far the fastest race of his career. And something tells me it had something to do with the pace. Look at those fractions. 22-1, 45-1. The leaders were rolling along. Moody Jim very patiently ridden by Flavien Prat, almost 15 lengths out of it on the back stretch. He was rolling late and he got up. Not sure that pace scenario replicates itself here against tougher horses, but you have to respect the fig. Mr. Dumas, the number 11, is all he's done is win 2 of his last 3, including a graded stakes race at Churchill Downs, the Commonwealth Turf, at a big price. I think this is a tougher field, obviously, than the Commonwealth Turf. John Ortiz does a very good job with his horses. And he's a trainer that I think is probably going to fall under the radar as he ships out here to Southern California, facing the Chad Browns, facing the big names from Southern California, Bob Baffert especially. Mr. Dumas, though, has got a lot of progression. We've seen it in his last few starts. He has a turf horse, even though he's run well on dirt. He's won at 1 1/8. I'm concerned about his ability at 1 1/8 against these kind of horses, just looking at him from a pedigree standpoint. But Mr. Dumas, really, you can't poke too many holes in his form. He's just stepping up in class. Originaire, the 12, lack of speed might hurt him. He doesn't have any kind of speed. He is pace dependent. Twilight Derby, really didn't get that pace. I mean, Mo Forza was right up close to the pace. Neptune Storm, as usual, was stalking, and Originaire just couldn't fire in the lane. In the Del Mar Derby, 3 starts back, he went really well at 1 1/8 against Knoll Day, but when you look at that race, boy, it kind of just came apart. Pace doesn't look fast on paper. I think they kind of sped it up in the middle portion, and it helped the closers like Knoll Day and Originaire. Might have hurt Neptune Storm a little bit. Originaire is the kind of horse that needs pace. After 12 starts, we've yet to see a 90 buyer. He's going to have to run faster. Succeed and Surpass is a horse I think you should use in the multiple race wagers. This horse finished ahead of Neptune Storm, the morning line favorite in the Hollywood Derby last time out in the Twilight Derby. He is now 12-1 on the morning line. He has run well in all 3 of his last 3 turf starts. He has won at Del Mar, and his last race at 1 1/8 to me proved that he can get the distance. He also has upside with only 5 starts on his resume. Now, he's also eligible for an Hours of 2 Life, so it's a big ask for him to take on some of these hard hitters like Henley's Joy. But I think Source has some ability. He's run 90 buyers in his last 2 races. Why can't Succeed and surpass those figures? Going to have to do it from a tough outside post position 13. This is a wide open affair. I liked what I saw from Mo Forza last time out. My good close personal friend Mike Beer, I know exactly what he would say. He would say, Dan, last time was the time for Mo Forza. He was 18-1. What are you going to get on him here? I think if you get 5-6-1, I think it's fair. I think he's going to work out a good trip. I think he's upwardly mobile. I think he's finding himself. He's my top pick in this race. Moody Jim, if you give him some pace, is going to come running late. I'm not in love with him, but I'm going to use him somewhere. Standard Deviation, I probably should have picked second. I think he might be the second most likely winner in here. I picked him third. I went 1, 10, 9, and 13. Don't forget about Succeed and Surpass, but I'm hoping Mo Forza can take 2 derbies in a row, the Twilight and the Hollywood, which happens to be your Saturday race of the day with an approximate post of 3:30 Pacific. Good luck.